Okay, these matrices have been super rock stars so far, right? So I know you're sitting there waiting, when's the shoe gonna drop? When's this gonna get hard? Because that's what you say in class all the time, so that's how I know it. Well, if it's going to, and I'm air quoting with my fingers that you cannot see right now, the word difficult or hard, here it is. And frankly, I'm air quoting it because it's not. But the most complicated part, if you will, of matrices are this matrix multiplication, with what we're doing anyway. Is this matrix multiplication? Now, I say that not to wig you out, because I know you get wigged out on stuff, because this is not difficult. As we go through it, you're going to see the pattern, and we're going to work with the pattern. Here is what has to happen. Just like when you add or subtract, you have to have the exact same dimensions. When you do matrix multiplication, it is not commutative. So that's a big deal. Not commutative. Remember, commutative means change the order. Normally when you multiply, right, 5 times 6 is 30, 6 times 5 is 30. It doesn't matter which order you put it in. It does matter with a matrix because of this. So with your dimensions, your two inside dimensions have to match. If they don't match, you're out. That's your test. So those two inside dimensions have to match. If they don't match, you're done. You cannot do the matrix multiplication. That's it. And not so bad. The outside dimensions, they get their own game. This is going to be your new dimensions. So if I'm going to multiply this 2 by 3 and this 3 by 4 matrix together, the 3's have to match, then my new matrix is going to end up being a 2 by 3. Remember, this is rows by columns. I'm sorry, I said 2 by 3. It's a 2 by 4. My new dimension is going to be this 2 by 4 matrix because that is the new dimension. Those are my outside values, and that ends up being the new dimension. All right? It's not so bad. So there's the hard part. The insides have to match. The outsides are your new dimensions. Let's practice a couple so that it makes sense to you. Okay, so remember how I said these are not commutative? Well, we're going to show that. There are two parts to this, and I couldn't put them both on the same slide, so they're going to be two separate slides here. Our first one that we're looking at is going to be A times B. The next one, we're going to use these exact same two matrices, and we'll do B times A so that you can see it does matter which order that you multiply them in. That's going to be a big deal, all right? So if I have A times B here, then we have to determine our dimensions. My A matrix is a 2 by 2. My B matrix here, so we know this is a 2 by 2 matrix. My B matrix here is going to be a 2 by 4 matrix. So if I'm multiplying a 2 by 2, and I'm going to take that times a 2 by 4, is that even possible? What was that criteria for them to even be possible? Yeah, the insides have to match. So do those 2's match? Yay, success. Then you look at your two outside terms. Your 2 and your 4. All right, that's your new dimension, right? So 98% of success in mathematics is organization. So whenever I'm going to multiply these together, what I do, and you're going to have to make them big, you're going to make this new matrix of this 2 by 4 because we're going to do our work within each one of those pieces. What I have found is that if students make this nice big matrix, it keeps them organized and then they can see what's happening because this is what goes down. We are going to take this top left and we're going to put our top over here with our left, which is why those have to match up. So basically, I'm taking this 1 and it goes to the 1. This negative 3 goes to the 3. So essentially, we're just lining those up. Here I have this 1 and negative 3. So you do that. I have 1 times 1 plus a negative 3 times 3. Top left, top left. So that spot, the top left spot, I'm going to put those two together. That is why the columns of the left one have to match the rows of the right one, because then they match up. This 1 here matches up with the 1. The 3 matches up down here with the 3. So if you can get that in your mind, that over here on the left, you're going to take it, turn it on its side, and then those numbers match up, and you multiply those and add them together. Same thing as if I do the top second column here, then I'm going to take my top row and distribute it to that second column. So that gives me a 1 times 0 plus a negative 3 times 1. Because if I bring those to that, the right one to the left one, 1 times 0, negative 3 times 1. So that's it. You're just taking the row on the left side and flipping it on its side and matching it up with each one of those columns. So the same thing is going to hold true here for my third one, where I'm going to take this 1, negative 3, distribute it over here to my third column. So I get 1 times negative 1 plus a negative 3 times 4. And last but certainly not least is our very last one here. So I'm going to take my top row and multiply it by my last column. And I get 1 times a 2 plus negative 3 times negative 1. And that's why I say make those blocks nice and long, because you want to have the room to write these things out. And on your paper, you've got a little bit more control than I do with this stylus on the iPad. But we go with it, right? Same thing holds true. If I'm going to go with the bottom right column, pardon me, left, I don't know my left from my right, right? So the bottom left column, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to flip this up here on its side. So 7 goes with 1 and 2 goes with 3. So you just flip it up. You just flip it over there to the side. The first term goes with the top. The second term goes with the bottom. So now I end up with 7 times 1 plus 2 times 3. Now check out this pattern, if you will. I have the 1s and the 3s lined up because that's what's in that column. This 1 and negative 3 is in common with every single of the top, because that is my top row. Just like I'm going to have the 7 and 2 that goes with every single one of these elements. See, there are patterns. Just basically the biggest deal on this is whichever place it is that you're filling in, that's the row and the column that you look at in your originals. Okay, let's fill the rest of these in then. So for this next one, I'm going to have 7 times 0 plus 2 times 1. My next one is I'm going to take 7 and 2 times this last column, or this third column. I have 7 times negative 1 plus 2 times 4. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to take this 7 and 2 times the last column. 7 times 2 plus 2 times negative 1. Now, whenever I go to actually write the answer out to this, I am going to have whatever this answer is. So let me get the pointer. I've got 1 times 1 is 1 plus 3 times negative 3. See if I can pull off a different color here. Let's try green. So I've got 1 minus 9 up there. So this will be a negative 8. 0 minus 3 is a negative 3. Negative 1 minus 12 is a negative 13. And 2 plus 3 is 5. There's my top row. Now this is 7 plus 6, giving me 13. 0 plus 2 is a 2. Negative 7 plus 8 is a 1. And 14 minus 2 is a 12. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your final answer. So the big deal on this one is just matching up the spaces. Once you get your new dimension, put those blanks in there, match it up. That's all there is to it. All right, let's try another one. All right, so for this one, notice what's happening. It's the exact same two matrices, except this time we're doing B times A. So we're swapping the order. So my B is a 2 by 4 matrix, and my A here is a 2 by 2. That means my B is a 2 by 4 and it comes first. The A is a 2 by 2 and it goes second. So let's multiply these together, right? Wrong. Yeah, tell me why. Yeah, I got to get those dimensions. So look at these two inside dimensions. Do they match? No, siree. We're out. Cannot simplify. Woohoo, woohoo. So because those dimensions don't match, you're done. That's the key on that one. In order to multiply matrices, those inside dimensions have to match. If they don't, you're out. Because you can't go through this one. If I have these 4 terms here, I'm going to take this top column, try to match it up. The terms don't all match up. I've got 4 over here to the right and only 2 on the left. I can't match that up. And that's the problem. Cool. Good. Now let's practice a couple more we actually can work, because I want to make sure that you're comfortable with multiplying matrices.